right. So, Chris, I saw that you are a classically trained pianist and a string player. So, what made you interested in leaving the classical world and going to film and TV?
Yeah, I always loved film and TV music because you could draw on so many different backgrounds. And yeah, I had a classical background, but also jazz
Mhm.
background growing up and was in like different bands and things. And so um, that's what I always loved with film and TV, that you could experiment with different genres and um, and yeah, I always loved writing music for something as well. Even when I was like messing around with some of my own like piano compositions when I was really young, um, I would always write for like a story or something in my mind. Or so yeah, film and TV kind of seemed a natural fit.
So, did you ever write? I'm curious about you composing when you were younger. Did you write the stories to accompany it, or you were just composing in your brain and never writing the actual narrative that you were thinking about?
Mm. I mean, I think I it was a very simple story, like very kind of I don't know, like about a castle by a lake, or sort of more actually like a setting, I guess, for a lot of them. Um, but then I did get really interested in musical theatre, and like I wrote for different kind of theatre productions, kind of the background music for that, and loved that process. So that was yeah, that was a bit later on. But yeah, always I never kind of sat and wrote out the story, but it was always important for me to for music to have some kind of narrative.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you pictured a setting because you've worked a lot of nature focused like documentaries or film or narrative films. And so it's kind of I'm kind of curious if you feel like you're approaching these nature focused stories in a different way than something that is 100% story, whereas these are have nature playing such a large role in what is going on.
Yeah. Um, I guess for this film, for the Soul Path, we saw nature really as the third character in the film, and so in a different way than my more like natural history documentary, which is more about finding. It's often with those projects, it's about finding like the different characters for the animals, and like um, kind of making them human-like. And but for this film, we wanted yeah nature to be the third character, and um, so to really give it a kind of a soul. I mean, the shots, the cinematography is amazing, and so it sort of doesn't need highlighting in that way. But we wanted to create a sense that nature was magical, and drawing these two characters in on the path.
Yeah. And so what made you interested in joining the Salt Path? Was there something from the script that like immediately grabbed you that you made you want to be part of the project?
Yeah, I mean, I knew so Marianne had uh, was a fan of some of the films I'd done before, so I knew that we'd sort of be we were kind of on the same page at the beginning with the musical choices. And but I absolutely loved the book is that the film is based on is just such a powerful emotional story, true story.
Hmm.
And um, when I was knew I was going for the job, I didn't have time to read the book. I'm a really slow reader, so I got the audio book.
Mm.
But actually, I was really glad that I did, because it meant that I could put it on my headphones and go for long walks
Mm.
around the forest and stuff near me. And so, and not only that, to kind of get into the rhythm of it, but it also meant that so Raynor is actually narrating the audiobook.
Mm.
So it kind of gave me a real insight into she delivers it in such a kind of quiet, understated way. And then suddenly there's these flashes of amazing poetry, and yeah, really kind of knocked me for six. And I knew that we had to, the score had to be really emotive and capture the kind of not only the magic of nature, but also the amazing kind of quiet love between these two characters without being kind of overblown.
Yeah. And so how do you balance, because nature is such a delicate thing, and I feel like by composing on it, you're essentially adding man-made intuition, man-made feeling onto it because you're using instruments. So how do you kind of make sure that you're going to the pure essence of nature, especially because it's the third character that you're talking about in this movie?
You're right. Yeah, I always want the music to feel like it's coming out of what we're seeing
Hmm.
so that it sort of masks its arrival for each cue. So um, for this, I sort of set myself a rule really that all of the score would be from um, real instruments and also instruments that are sort of from that region. So I bought a mandolin, an English mandolin, when I knew I was doing the project, and that became a real focus of the sound, as well as solo folk violin,
Hmm.
bass, contrabass flute, and these kind of really natural sounds. And so yeah, no synthesizers, nothing, not leaning on any sampler instruments like that. I knew I wanted to, yeah, really sculpt the score from natural things. And we also experimented with finding sounds on the instruments that would kind of mimic nature. So Ruby Colley, the violinist,
Hmm.
when we were kind of going back and forth, she did the seagull sound, which I've heard on the cello before, but never so much on the violin. And yeah, that was cool to kind of because the seagulls are really important in the sound design. They're kind of Marianne, the director, talked about how they're like always there. It's a sound that's always there, almost like mocking you as you're. It's quite a kind of harsh sound. So yeah, the seagulls, and then with the flute player Carla Reese, we found these sort of wind sounds and breath sounds to yeah, so to really kind of try and tie the score into the sound design and into nature with that.
And you used salt, right, on the mandolin, which how can you kind of walk through what you like, what does it mean to use salt on the mandolin?
What was I thinking? um, yeah, it was I when I first get into a project, I like to kind of have different concepts and a way of like unlocking the project. And I suppose so. I had this mandolin. I don't play the mandolin.
Mhm.
I play other string instruments, but it's got um, it's got eight strings. So I kind of thought let's tune them all separately and into a. I've kind of found a chord that I liked, and I knew that we wanted to have a kind of atmospheric sound for like magic for that magic of nature that's like beckoning them in. Um, and so yeah, I tried sort of bowing it at first.
Mhm.
Then I actually got some gorse, which is like a plant, a thorny kind of bush that grows like
Mhm.
in around that region, and tried strumming it with that and different. And then I thought, what it would be cool uh, to yeah to get some kind of flaked salt, and I set it up on a table and poured the salt, scattered it onto the strings. Um, I should say, obviously, the book is called The Salt Path, and it's a really um, there's a really key kind of message towards the end where the characters become salted, like they become part of nature. So that I knew that was like a concept that I was trying to go for in the score, and kind of seemed a neat for it's like see how it sounds. And then I found the actual sound itself was really you got this resonating chord that was kind of random because it and natural because it's you didn't know which it depends which bit of salt hits which string. So I recorded that and then sort of made it into something that I could expand and play around with. But yeah, it really it also meant that it was just one chord because you can't change anything you're doing when you're so it was like a constant throughout the film that keeps drawing them back in, I think.
And I saw that Swim and Breathe were two of your favorite selections. So what about those two stood out to you in terms of maybe writing it or how they work in the film that made it your favorite?
Yeah, so if I talk about Breathe is one of the first cues where the music really takes off.
Mm,
Um, and it's about 25 30 minutes into the film, and for the first bit of the story, visually Marianne did a really clever sort of trick where the screen is not fully widescreen.
mm,
So it's sort of visually you're because these characters are still in shock and not fully embracing, they're just going through the motions of and thinking what we're going to do. So they, yeah, visually we're sort of constrained. And then the first moment that they look up and notice the sun and the beauty of nature around them, the screen opens up, and so does the music in that cue Breathe. So um, it's the first moment where we hear this violin theme,
mm,
um, which is sort of linked to the peregrine falcon.
mhm,
Uh, and it's a sort of soaring theme that goes up and up and up. And so, yeah, it was a really kind of uplifting um, moment, and I love it watching it in the cinema because it does the surround sound also kind of opens up there, and yeah, it's a cool moment. And then later in the film, that's the swim sequence is was one of the highlights of the book for me. It's one of those magical scenes that kind of stays with you, and it's where Ray and Moth are fully, it's such a powerful metaphor. They're like fully embraced in or enveloped in nature and going for this kind of midnight swim. And also where as a couple they're really, really rediscovered each other. And so it was a real challenge though, because it's only about 30 seconds long because they're underwater, can't hold
mhm,
their breath for that long. So I knew we had about three different themes that we had to get in there, like their love theme, nature, and peregrine theme. And so it's trying to find a way of, yeah, getting everything um, to knit together and have this kind of climax, but in a short space of time. It was, yeah.
yeah. My last question for you is just kind of, I'm curious if you could talk about how the score shifts in terms of you have the love theme, you also have the nature sounds, and then by the end of it, like you said, they're coming together. So what did you do in terms of the score to mirror this changing of emotions that is happening to these two characters?
Yeah. Um, they go on a journey, a physical journey, but also an emotional journey. And and also Moth's illness kind of it improves, his health improves. So I I tried to find we tried to find a rhythm
Mm,
um, as they walked that would it starts off quite irregular, and it's in seven beats in the bar at the beginning, which is like feels a bit off kilter, and because kind of Moth is still dragging his foot, and then gradually as we go through the film, as they find their confidence, um, the rhythm of the music becomes more regular and flowing. So there was that aspect of it, but also emotionally, the music at the beginning feels more kind of ambient and sort of like it's calling them to go on this journey. And as they embrace the journey and each other, uh, the music becomes more full, like heartwarming and forthright, and solo cello theme and solo violin theme that really kind of um, yeah plays on the emotions, and but we never want it to become too heroic, or it's always done with small just soloists. And yeah, so that was the sort of journey, the physical and the emotional journey, really, for the characters and the score.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris. It was great chatting with you, and it's a really beautiful score. I haven't seen the picture to go with it, but I love just listening to the score.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
There's one. Thanks,
Thanks.
Tina.
Bye.